We're ready, 6:30, ready to get started. We do have a quorum, it looks like. We're doing very good. Thank you all for attending our meeting number 16. Any from the mayor, Joe? Okay, you. Melanie, roll call, please.
Mayor Garitano is not here. Chair Roughton,
Here.
Vice Chair Loyal,
Here.
Member Avery, Member Baker, Member Beatty, Member Boomer Schlegel, Member Boren, Member Clark,
I am happy to be here.
Member Clayton, Member Coleman,
Here.
Member Depler, Member Helfrey, Member Homan, Member Rubis,
Holman's
Member
present.
Jackson, Member Jackson, Member Cohn,
Here.
Councilmember McCutcheon,
Here.
Member Metz,
Here.
Member Pick, Councilmember Rambo,
Here.
Member Wren,
Here.
Member Shaken. And we have a quorum.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve or amend or discuss our previous meeting minutes? Teresa,
I move to approve.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The motion passes. Thank you. Joe, you'd like to take over, please?
Mr. Chair, thank you. Mr. Chair, members of the group, I too would like to offer the Department of Planning's welcome and thank you all for being here tonight. It is much appreciated. As the chair mentioned, this is meeting number 16. Time flies when you're having fun, right? Right? Okay. We are getting toward the home stretch though. As part of tonight's agenda, you probably noticed that we're going to talk about our land use discussions. And that's typically the last step in the update process of the core components of the master plan. Not to say that the narratives aren't, but again, those are more, we're describing what we've done versus what we're trying to do and in terms of the plan, making it better and reflective of what we've learned in the last 10 years and what we hope to achieve in the next 10 years. So again, your perseverance, your patience, and your cooperation is greatly appreciated by all of us. I do want to acknowledge Ms. Keefe, Mr. Newberry, and Ms. Ripito. A lot of what goes on here when you sit down is all orchestrated by them. And obviously, we as a group couldn't do it without them. I also do want to acknowledge our officer, Mr. Fisher, Officer Fisher. It's always nice to have one of our police here just to kind of provide us some support. And if we need him, we've got him. So thank you all. I'd like to think that you'll never say I'm not enthusiastic about planning. And particularly in this particular case, the definition of arterial in terms of roadway and then the list of our arterial roads that we will propose for the first 10 years. What I'm doing is apologizing to you for getting a little too far out in front of our Department of Public Works. And so at our March 10th meeting, we'll have all of that information available for you. But I do apologize. I thought we were a little closer. I started looking at the information I had, and I will also say in the defense of the Department of Public Works, they've had a lot of bid openings, getting ready for the spring, summer, and fall construction season. So they've been swamped. So my apologies to all. In terms of the economic development element, as you know, we completed the goals statements and our objective statements at the last meeting held at the beginning of this month. And with that completion, the department has gone through the list of goals and the list of objectives and summarize what I think were the key points of our discussion that occurred at those meetings, because we did start the goals back in January and concluded again in February. And then what alterations to the goal objective statement that grew out of those. I do not necessarily want to go through each of them, but I do want to highlight a couple of them because I think they were well done on the part of the group in terms of our discussion and ultimately the direction you gave to the Department of Planning. And the first of those is goal number 2. And I'm going to simplify it down to one word: retention. And again, from the perspective of this group, and I think particularly from our business representatives, the best business development policy is a retention policy of our existing businesses and commercial entities. And you've said that very strongly. And from the perspective of the department in preparing the statement, we did add a request of the chair to kind of reference commercial as part of that description in the goal. I also want to just talk about one thing relative to that goal. Oftentimes when the city administrator, Thomas Lee, or the mayor or city council members or the departments meet with potential business interests, we always hear that we don't have the standard 5-mile radiuses of rooftops. We don't have an interstate to provide access and visibility and traffic counts. But I think you all, as we talk through this one, identified some of the uniqueness and the non-traditional assets we have here in Wildwood. And I tried to list those as accurately as possible, which include like recreation amenities, low taxes and fees. That's one that doesn't get discussed much, but we don't have a property tax. We don't have a personal property tax. We have a low business fee charge. So that's something I think is important. The outreach and communication from the city. Now with the businesses of Wildwood, we're working together, as Ms. Keefe mentioned at the last meeting, on our Route 66 celebration. Prior to businesses of Wildwood, the WBA, the Wildwood Business Association, we partnered in many events. Obviously, we could always do better as a city, but in this particular instance, I think it's something that we've always tried to foster, and I think we can always do better. And that's what I think comes through in the goal. Existing transit, we do have bus service here, excellent local schools, and workforce training now at the St. Louis Community College Wildwood campus. So if you look at that as a list, okay, we may not have as many rooftops in that 5-mile radius as we like, and we may not have an interstate, which I think is a plus. But again, we do have things I think we need to accentuate relative to the community. In terms of goal 3, and this is a common thread through the objectives and policies as well, we as a city have only on 3 occasions offered some type of public finance incentive to a development entity or in terms of the city's action. The first was extending sanitary sewers west of their terminus, basically at Etherton Road and Manchester Road by the Porch, that general area, because most of that area west of there wasn't served by public sewer. So we wouldn't have the YMCA, we wouldn't have the community college, we wouldn't have the developments such as towns at Windrush, Main Street Crossing, Camberry. So what the city did is influence development through infrastructure. And we've done that in a lot of instances, and those are listed as part of the explanation that we discussed during our thing. So infrastructure, capital improvements, it's something this city, in my opinion, does very, very well. And I think that's an economic incentive we can offer. It lowers costs to the developer, and it shortens the construction timeframe. If you're only having to build the building where you're going to house your business and not all the road improvements or infrastructure or utilities, it's a shorter construction period and you save money. For the most part, we added the new goal of target commuters driving through the city. And I came up with probably a very non-catchy phrase, stop and shop campaign. So that's something you all brought up about Route 100, Route 109. Instead of going north, south, or west, stay here. In terms of objectives, again, you as a group spent a great deal of time focused on the town center and the Chesterfield Valley, our two key components. In terms of town center, I thought the discussion was particularly interesting because we talked a lot about just what makes town center so unique and how we should market it. And you all talked about the architecture of the buildings and streets, the theater, the hotel, two uses a lot of communities don't have. Now the all-inclusive playground, the community college, the Wildwood YMCA, and just all the activities that we offer both as businesses of Wildwood, the city of Wildwood, and others to bring people into the community and keep them here and make them feel part of it. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, Chair.
Can I? So when I was going through this before to meeting tonight, I got a little confused whenever it reads something like the town center and Chesterfield Valley. And I saw, I don't know, something that you wrote that I thought clarified it a little bit more. I don't know how other people feel it, but say the industrial area within the Wildwood portion of the Chesterfield Valley, because we're not really, I mean, when somebody says Chesterfield Valley, they think of the Chesterfield Valley. And so every time I would read that, I would get confused.
Okay.
So it's a suggestion. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but.
Well, certainly I can clarify it better so that there is an understanding, and that I appreciate the suggestion very much. So that's objective one. I'm kind of going to skip over to objective three. I thought this was an interesting conversation. We talked about how we present information to interested parties, whether it's a real estate broker, a real estate agent, a development entity, a franchisee, a national chain. And we talked about using AI models, something that we'd like to be on the front end of, but not necessarily on the backside. Our mapping software and other technological tools to help us basically provide truthful and solid information about what's going on in Wildwood to those that might be interested. So I commend you on saying, let's keep in front and not in behind. I think, again, it deserves attention that in terms of objectives 6 and 7, those have been completed in the last 10 years. The first was creating an economic development manager position. That has been fully funded and in place for almost that entire 10-year period. There's a vacancy right now, but our city administrator is working on filling that position. And then we do have a third standing committee. Up until the last 10 years, the first 20 years, we had two standing committees. Now we have a third, and that's the Economic Development Committee. So those are some of the highlights of our discussion relative to completing the goals and objectives. And before we jump into the policies, if there's any errors, omissions, things that we as the department should do to make those statements more clear or better, great time to talk about them now. All right, policies. The first policy, conduct research to determine what attracts people to Wildwood and develop a promotional campaign highlighting these features. The department said retain and revise. And the reason I identified revise is I think we need to define what research constitutes. I think it's too broad of a term and too much to interpretation. Is it surveys of our residents? Are they just general surveys available through, let's say, SurveyMonkey? Or are they actually scientific ones done by a consultant that provides us a level of assurance that the results are accurate, et cetera? So again, the department is recommending it be retained, but I think we need to do a better job for you all's part to define what research is and then how to use that research in a promotional campaign. A lot of the policies, as you see, as we work through them, talk about promotion, strategies for promotion, things along those lines. Policy 1. Policy 2, identify key strategies for promoting and marketing Wildwood and then implement them. Again, retain, but I think from the perspective of the department, I think we probably as a policy need to be a little bit more specific than general. So tonight, that's what the department means by revise. What are a few of those key strategies? Or if as a group, you were told you have 2 or 3 strategies that if you were king of the world or queen of the world, you would implement to help Wildwood. So those are the things we're searching for from you. What are those strategies you think that would be most effective? And those are the ones we can talk about. Yes.
Isn't policy 1 and policy 2 really all encompassing? I guess my question to the group is it a total plan or is it piecemeal? And should we split it out or should we roll it all into one? I'd be looking for some input for that.
Well, certainly there's a lot of interlocking or overlap. So yeah, it's a good question. Thank you.
Random thoughts time. I think 2 follows 1, so we can do it any way we want to. But that's a very good point. I just wanted to ask Mr. Vunich. I'm having real trouble hearing. I'm working on a migraine, and if I get up and walk out, it's not because I'm aggravated with anything going on. It's because I'm miserable. But Joe, I can't hear you for some reason tonight. If you could move the mic a little bit closer or something.
Certainly, I'll do my best. And Travis has adjusted the volume.
Okay, great.
Prior, we've hopefully have fixed the problem, but there used to be the buzz from the microphone when we turned it up too loud.
Yeah.
I think we've addressed that, so I'll try to do better. Thank you.
Yeah, my question is, who does this and what initiates coming up with these key strategies or the list of things that we're going to work on in these 2 areas? How is it initiated? Is it something that comes up with the council and then they say, hey, we should work on this specific thing and come up with these key strategies? Does the staff do it as a normal day-to-day routine? Who is coming up with those?
Well, from past experience, it has been the economic development manager and the city administrator. So whether it's in the economic development guide or a component of the master plan or something that comes from the businesses of Wildwood or one of our business forums, those two collectively work on, is this something we can do, can't do? If we can do, how do we do it? And then that goes to the standing committee, economic development. And then from there, it goes to the full city council. So there's a chain, so to speak, but from the perspective of the department, it always starts internally with team members, staff, and then goes from there. Because as in the case of like Miss Baker or others who own their own business, sometimes you can bring in an expert, but it's the person on the showroom floor or at the sales counter that knows what's working and not. It's kind of what I think Tom, our city administrator, and the economic development manager do.
Okay, so as follow-up, over the last 10 years, do we have that list that we can look at those were the key strategies and we can see how well we did?
Certainly, out of the economic development guide, there were 5 major initiatives. For example, one was there was a cluster of businesses at one time at Rockwood Point Court, Etherton Road, Manchester Road, by the old City Hall, the first City Hall, now the Porch, Adler's Dry Goods, 3 French Hens. There was a collective kind of group of businesses that seemed to market themselves to a certain customer base. And so one of the initiatives was to build on that, make that a core component of a development, a business strategy. So we work from that, the economic development guide, we work from the master plan. And oftentimes, as I say, I'd like to think that from our business forums where we have a group of businesses show up, we take that input and put it into programming. We've done a lot of changes to our sign regulations lately based upon comments we received from the business forum. And I think we've improved the sign regulations. We'll find out.
So at the risk of digressing, who owns it and which entity takes the lead and makes sure that we're all headed in the right direction?
If I were to do an organizational chart, I would say who owns it? The economic development manager. And
Okay.
from there, it's to the city administrator, and from there to committee, and then finally city council. So
Then, in your opinion, is that pretty well defined?
I think so.
Okay,
I think so. There is some crossover at times
Sure.
between public works when we're talking infrastructure or utility strategies, sometimes with parks and planning, when we're talking about sign regulations or events to bring people into the town center and expose them to the business community. So, but I think at the end of the day, and I know that Julian and Gina and Paula, they had substantial outreach. I don't know, the business owners over here can speak to that a little, can speak much better to that, but I think that was the initiative.
thank you.
So the original question was, do you think 1 and 2 can be combined, and instead of 2 policies, one that is all encompassing? Seeing a lot of heads nodding, so.
Yes.
Okay, we'll craft that back into one and see what you think when you see it in March.
Well, it's my opinion, I'm jumping in here, but my opinion is
Certainly.
it's 2 components. One is the analysis, the formal research component, and then there's the implementation component. Maybe that's a better split, unless I don't recall what the other goals are back here. Maybe there's another place to put the implementation.
Take a look. Let us take a look, the 4 of us, and see what we come back with. But I think that's a good synopsis. You base your implementation on good analysis, good data. So,
Yeah, to follow up on Rob's comment, maybe number 2, it should be implement key strategies instead of identifying.
yes, and I've written that down and we'll see how that works out. Thank you both. Number 3, policy 3, if there's no more comment. Establish relationship with organizations and businesses that hold unique community assets, which helps to create or helps in creating Wildwood's unique character. I think this is one of our better policies. And so if you're asking what might be those unique community assets, other than Wildwood, there's only 3 community college campuses in the metropolitan area, at least in St. Louis County and the city of St. Louis. So our community college, the Wildwood Family YMCA, Pond Athletic Association, LaSalle Retreat Center, Marinus Retreat Center, and Hidden Valley, one that oftentimes we don't talk enough about. It's our largest employer, seasonal, but during the ski season, over 200 people are employed there. So pretty impressive. Pardon? Oh, that's a great one. I was just down there today. I should be ashamed of myself. I wasn't riding the train. So I will do a promotion. So on April 11th, there's going to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The train's going to take people up to Rock Hollow Trail, Zombie Road, and that's when the bluebells are all in bloom. And so we're going to have the Great Rivers Greenway is going to be there to talk about trails. The Wildwood Garden Club is going to be there to talk about bluebells. Our arborist, Mike Welsh, will be there to give you some ideas about what native trees are to this area. So mark it on your calendar. Train ride there. You can stay there as long as you want and then catch a ride back and they'll bring another group up on up. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Yes. So we'll be getting that on site on our website here very shortly. But there is no limit per se, other than when I talked to Mr. Greathouse, the president, it's like, well, yeah, I guess we should try to figure out how many we really want. So we'll have it, but it's not going to be as restrictive as the Haunted Express. And I don't know if you've been up there and seen the bluebells in bloom, but according to Mr. Greathouse, the president of the WFMP this year, or whatever the term is, when you put in bluebells, that's the first location that comes up. One of the best examples, and they are just unbelievable. So, yes, thank you for the suggestion. The WFMP.
Teresa.
Yeah, just one more suggestion, since we're going with Hidden Valley and it's a private owned, the R&R Ranch is great too.
That's a great one. Yes, thank you. That's
Michael.
We really need to promote that because I'm an old skier, literally, and talk to a lot of people about skiing opportunities in the area, and most people think it's Eureka. So we got to really promote that as Wildwood.
yeah, very good. Well, any other thoughts? Number 4, optimize the utilization of the city's website, e-newsletter, social media, including the possible development of a new mobile applications. So the department just in its commentary just says, I think we've done a very good job of this over the years. Maybe not so much in the first years because the internet wasn't as prominent of a tool as it is today, but folks like Ms. Keefe, Mr. Newberry, Ms. Ripito, and many others in the building, they do a wonderful job on social media, getting information on the website for our residents and visitors. like I say, I think it's a key component that needs to be retained. And I'd like to think that we'll do more as the technology and the programs grow or retract. We did have a mobile application for Parks and Recreation. We no longer offer that. The company that developed the application and maintained it was in Chesterfield, Missouri. And what he described to us about a year ago is that Google keeps asking for more and more information, more personal information, more information about users. And he was just getting to the point where he was very uncomfortable providing that. And so he just backed away from the application development. We did go out and look for alternatives, but they were anywhere from 10 times more expensive to 100 times more expensive. And that was just for the development, and the maintenance component on a yearly basis was just really astronomical relative to what we used it for. So no mobile app right now, but we'll keep it in there if there's no objection on the group. Maybe someday. Policy 5, promotional materials. Develop promotional materials in conjunction with community representatives, which can be disseminated to businesses, restaurants, employers, development interests, others to market Wildwood as a great place to live, work, and play. So again, another component that I think is very much aligned with policies 1 and 2.
When we have the farmer's market, for example, we have the small sign, or the mayor's coffee, we have the small signs out. Well, for the farmer's market, it's really hard to read it. If it just said farmer's market arrow, I think it might bring more people in. But for any of our activities that we're doing off the main 100, to let people know that's going on, maybe have those little signs, concert or, whatever we are having, so that it will draw them in off of 100.
Certainly, ma'am. There's
On
no,
the message board, electronic message board.
uh, I believe the city council passed a new policy relative to electronic message boards that limits them to use for roadway and bridge projects. So,
Oh, maybe we should bring that up, Rob.
so it was a disappointment from the perspective of the department. We don't overutilize them, but I told the story, and if I bore you with it, we when we were developing our action plan for Parks and Recreation, as I recall, we wanted to garner as much participation from our residents. And so we did all kinds of outreach, and we put an electronic message board at Taylor Road and Main Street by Dearborn's. And we had over 125 people show up at Wildwood Middle School. We did all the polling. Yep. You have a little polling machine in your hand, and you click it as they show and you can watch the changes. And so, make a long story short, at the end, we asked, how'd you find out about the meeting? 75% of them said the electronic message board. So it's like, oh, okay. So it does work.
Yeah.
But yeah, temporary signage and electronic message board. Got it. Number 6, implement the city's economic development guide. I think that's self-explanatory. And then number 7, the last of the existing policies, complete the development of Main Street from its current terminus at Market Avenue to State Route 109. Well, we have a portion of it completed now through Main Street Crossing, which is from Etherton Road on the east end to Route 109 and the roundabout on the west end. And we need to finish the center section. But the Manchester Road streetscape, which is shown through a strike-through line, that has been completed, all 3 phases. So 10 years have been productive. So I don't know, I believe Ms. McCutcheon, Dr. Rambo can attest to this. That is, I think, a key priority of our city administrator and our city council now is to get that final section completed so that we have that continuous linkage. And we believe it'll do a lot of things. Obviously, it'll help Village Green greatly, but it'll also bring, I think, increased traffic to our businesses in the downtown district. Any new ideas?
No, you are. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I've been thinking about this a while after, just going through this economic development and I didn't have this ready to talk about in the goals and the objectives. However, I think that we need to put in a goal, objective, and policy regarding investment. And I think it works right here in the economic development element to just include a goal, objective, and policy for investment subcommittee of the EDC. This would be dedicated to investment strategies, cash management, and yield curve analysis so that we could enhance our city income optimization. This would this subcommittee could include the finance officer, the city administrator, a council member that has expertise in finance. And most importantly, though, bringing in someone that's certified and experienced in investment advisory expert. Now, I'm not an expert in this, so I was talking with Larry Brost, who is closer to an expert, but not an expert either in investment. Because we talked about this about maybe 2-3 years ago in council. And Larry brought up some real important points. Maybe this group could meet quarterly or semi-annually to evaluate performance of our city's finance maximization and develop secure and legal strategies for maximizing the income and our reserves. Because our reserves are quite substantial right now. The main function of this group would be to increase awareness and provide informed recommendations to the council. So they would focus on awareness of what we have and pass it on to the council. The primary duties might involve reviewing the current and planned investment and cash management activities that we have going on now. And that would just be to safeguard and optimize our taxpayer funds. We would introduce critical oversight process. So right now, we might not have that going on. I don't know the latest with the latest finance officer and her expertise, but in the past, we know that our finance officer and Larry McGowan had told us they were not experts in this area of finance. So we need somebody in investments specifically. It would be similar to what's established in other city functional groups. For example, we have internet subcommittee, or we have city hall building subcommittee, but we bring in people that know these specific areas so that they can, dear management, so that they can give us more detailed research than we might already have. They all look at budgets and scope and supplier selections, but these are highly qualified people. And so we bring in an attorney. We don't bring in a doctor to do the attorney work. And that's why I'm saying we really need somebody with the finance to look at our to strategically look at our yield curves, know where we were before, where we are now, compare them, know how that compares so that we know where to go in the future instead of just letting it happen. So this would include a provision in this motion to eliminate potential conflicts of interest that might arise from our financial business partner and us. In the past, when this was all brought up, we saw that we were allowing our financial business partner that I won't mention the name of who it was at the time, but they were making all of our decisions for us. And it was benefiting them as well. So we need to look at what benefits us most and have somebody come in and do that. And I'm just basing that over the last 10 years of what has happened and what I really think this could push us forward with our money. I think I was talking to Larry Brosen, he said if we had done this 10 years ago, we would have a lot more monies to spend on these projects that we want to do now.
So, Mr. Chair, in context, Ms. Clark and I had a brief conversation before the start of the meeting. So to kind of shape it a bit, the city has a number of different revenue sources. The one that often is talked about most is the pool tax. It's a sales tax collected amongst a group of municipalities in St. Louis County, distributed back on a per capita basis. That's almost 50% of our revenue source. The next largest revenue source is utility tax or gross receipts tax. Obviously, those are premised on a lot of different factors. For example, pool tax, City of Chesterfield at almost every legislative session each year tries to slice more of that pooled tax to them versus the grouping of municipalities. We also spend a lot of time talking about energy efficiency and making our homes more energy efficient. And so oftentimes that affects electric and gas receipts, things like that. What I described to Ms. Clark was one of the few things we do control 100% is how we manage the money we have in reserve and the money we receive and hold for whatever period of time, investments. So I could see this being something that if the group concurs, be a motion and second, we could at least put out on the paper and see what you all think.
That's a big one. I mean, it's huge. And understand where you're coming from, understand the oversight we want to provide. But maybe I'd like to at least suggest to the group that that's a deeper discussion with somebody like Thomas Lee before we jump in and write something down. I'd like to flesh it out a little bit more. What's the group think about that?
Yeah, I think that may be what Teresa intended to ask Joe to do, was go and figure out exactly how this ought to work, because it's really, the way I see it is, this is a strategic financial planning initiative that's right in our master plan, because we did this, as Teresa suggested 2 or 3 years ago, but just kind of, and we've made it better, but we didn't make it great, and just kind of, nobody lost interest in it, but it just, things moved on and we've kind of dropped it, or it's been sitting for a while. I think we could do a lot better. We have also talked about potentially spending our reserve, how much money we should have in reserve, and those kinds of basic financial decisions. And I don't know where that is. We've asked for it and we haven't, because there's nobody to charge with it. And so having that strategic element right in the master plan, I think, is critical, because we also have to, not only that, but we have to figure out revenue sources, because as Joe suggested, revenues are going down in many areas. We're the only major municipality around without any sort of property tax, but people always complain about property taxes. I pay my property taxes. Why can't you do this, that, or the other thing? But none of it comes to Wildwood whatsoever. And folks need to know that. So there's a lot to this. I will second Teresa's motion because I think it's critical, and we'll see what the department comes back with. If that's my take on it anyway.
To the chair's concern, I would certainly not do anything without Mr. Lee providing the guidance.
Right now, I understand that, but it doesn't make sense to get Mr. Lee in front of us. So we have an overlook.
I think that's what we're doing is just putting the concept in, the refinement of it will have to come from staff anyhow.
As in a phase 2.
So I wouldn't delay it. I would implement the process by which to implement or something to that effect.
Again, to the group, I think what we're saying here is let's look at a proposed goal, objective, and policy or policies, if necessary, that the city administrator, the finance manager, and others would craft that would be presented to you for final consideration.
Excellent. Teresa.
Yes, and every one of these goals and that we're going over, and goals and objectives and policies that we're going over now are going to go through that process. It's going to go and be looked at by the leaders of the city and by the council before.
Understand, I'm just looking for additional information so this team can make an informed decision. That was my only
So do
input.
we have a motion and a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll let Mr. Lee hear the good news tomorrow. So that is a new goal objective policy. Are there any others before we conclude?
So I think we should have, a goal that says resident input. Introduce a town survey when we first started this, asking residents what they want. I think it would be a good idea to know what kinds of, you know, anything related to economic development, whether it's a store or a business or whatever. I think we should periodically get residents' input on that, because if the residents aren't gonna use something, there's no reason to go ahead forward with it or support it economically. So I also suggest that resident surveys should be done periodically to obtain economic development plans that include resident desires or requests.
Ms. McCutcheon, it sounds like you might have written that down, so if we have a motion and a second to support it, I'd probably want to borrow that from you for a few minutes. Group thoughts? Yes, ma'am.
I wonder if it would be appropriate to have a policy in here related to Route 66 revitalization.
Oh, yeah.
It is pretty much a top priority of the Historic Preservation Commission, and it's considered an economic development initiative.
Would you like to propose that motion?
I believe that has to come from you.
I'll make the motion.
I think that's great. Put that on the back burner for just a second. We didn't do anything with, I'll make a motion to support.
So we have a motion and second on the floor to periodically or survey resident. I have resident input surveys periodically, interest of surveys of resident policy. So
Just a couple of random comments here. Deb is exactly right. We need to have a more formal mechanism for periodically surveying the community and so forth. But I contend that that would be useless if we don't provide them with some context and some prior knowledge. For example, there are projects that are enormously complex and folks don't have the appropriate information to make informed, to take informed positions on those topics. And so it has to be sort of a bi-directional thing. And it can't be, this is where professional design is critical, because it can't just be a leading question, leading people one way or the other way. It has to be neutral, but there has to be some context provided as part of that survey. And so I think it's larger than just, hey, what do you guys think? Do you want a community center? Do you want an ice rink? Do you want observation tower? What do you want? We have to have, there has to be some design, and I don't know exactly how to make that happen, but we don't get the appropriate feedback from the community in any sort of formal way. We do it more of a small town. We take more of a small town approach, and I think now that we're a reasonably sized city, we probably should do that more formally.
So,
In general, you're right.
Yeah, we just do Survey Monkey, and that's anybody. Monkey is right in the title. I mean, any monkey can do it. And
it's,
useless.
I would think some items do have that, or an opportunity for the public component. I know whenever things go through P and Z, or if there's a change in some of the regulations, or and even like the development, the new committee, it doesn't allow public input right there, but it provides an opportunity to learn here. And certainly no one is prohibited from shooting the mayor or you guys a note saying, I heard that last night. That's fine, so don't do that. So I think it just needs to kind of be more encompassing, because I would assume that if I want to put a business in that meets the business, doesn't violate the business requirements, doesn't require any change, but some people may not like it, I could still put it in, because that there would be no public input on that. I come to you guys, tell you what my plan is, get a business license, and boom, I turn the lights on.
Correct.
But that's the kind of scenario I can see where maybe there needs to be a more encompassing component that either, solicits or allows for public input. But you can also do paralysis by analysis. You can make a committee for everything and never get anything done.
Teresa.
No,
Well, certainly we would do an RFQ, request for qualifications, get a entity, whether it's a survey firm, whatever the situation might be, and then craft, what's the question? What are we trying to understand from our residents? And I think the examples Dr. Rambo mentioned were a rec center. So I think the context would be, what's the best approach to have good information to make the best decisions?
Aren't we really just saying providing the community with informed information, with enough information for them to make an informed decision? And that's where it stops.
Yeah, I think the only twist to this is, as Ms. McCutcheon mentioned, if there isn't support, why spend the money? And that's an economic component.
Right. Teresa.
Thank you, Chair. So what I've seen with the surveys over the time that I've been around, when we get them back, we evaluate them only based on number of people that want one thing or another thing, instead of looking at some weighted criteria for assessing it. If we have more than one criteria for, everybody could want, a brand new city hall. Everybody could say, yeah, we want to, but we can't give them that. So we have to have some weighted, what if there's safety involved, if there's financial issues involved. We need to have some way to break it down more than just how many people want it.
Question. When these surveys are done, and I'm not sure, but percentage wise, what is the percent of people that respond to these? It doesn't sound like it's very high percentage of people that actually follow through. Is it real like 10% of the population or 5%? Did anyone ever figure that out? Because I'm wondering, if there's enough out there that people even realize how important it is.
Well, the two most recent examples I would provide is when we were looking at the issue of solar panels.
Mhm.
We, I think, selected 3,000 households to participate.
So we engaged a professor out of SLU to do a scientific survey regarding Wildwood's opinion on solar panels, roof-mounted solar panels, and the scientific selection to make it statistically significant was 3,200 households, and that's something that the city paid a consultant to do for us. The return on that one was very high. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was very high. That we had an online survey, but we also had mailed surveys, and the city administrator's mailbox was full of mailed-in surveys alone.
Specific topic you were asking to be surveyed on, not a general overview of what would you like in Wildwood. That was a specific topic.
In that instance, yes. In that example, yeah.
So the other example is more recent. We did a survey as we kicked off the update of the master plan. That was done in this time frame of 2025. And I believe we had 700 responses. Pardon? 800 responses. Now, it was open to all residents, so to speak.
So that's a very low percentage that even bothered to respond.
Generally speaking, in the past, if we get 10 to 15% response, we feel that's a successful outreach.
I can jump in. I mean, we've had surveys for different projects on the website. And I can't remember what the last one was, but we've got quite a bit of input from that as well. And I'm not saying that I think you need to do one or two, 3 items maybe that you're asking them about, but the city belongs to the residents. And so I think we need to have their input on what it is they want Wildwood to be. And again, if we're coming up with something that's economic development wise and the residents don't want to utilize it, we're wasting funds. So I think it could be done in different ways, and certainly the consultant, but Joe's right, 10% is a very good return on a survey.
Well, it's just that it's kind of sad with how many thousand people do we have now? Close to 30? I don't know.
36,000. Close
And
to
that
36,000.
small amount even bother to respond.
Michael,
Would town hall meetings be a mechanism that would be able to be used to solicit input from our citizens?
Well, Ms. McCutcheon has a Ward 5 meeting tomorrow night with Mr. Marshall. We have the coffees with the mayor, and I believe Mayor Garitano is looking at doing something in the evening to kind of capture people that can't make it early in the morning to his coffees. So, but yes, over the years, ward meetings have been kind of the bread and butter of the pair of ward representatives. And they'll fill this council chambers. Yeah. Oh, the Watershed Erosion Task Force. We reached out to all the property owners that had either floodplain on a portion of their property or adjoined a creek, just to assess what are you experiencing on your property. So
Teresa. You got,
So I believe Ms. McCutcheon has a motion on the floor. It was seconded by Dr. Rambo to add something in terms of a objective or potentially gold objective policy, one or multiple ones relative to engaging the residents of the city through regular surveys or public outreach?
Any more discussion? All in favor? Yes.
I just had a quick question to clarify. So of the 36,000 people, how many households does that come down to roughly? Do you guys know off the top of your head?
I believe the census from 2020 had our household size just under 3 per household. So doing the simple math, it's about 12,000 households.
And are those surveys expensive? Are they costly to hire a consultant or a firm like the lady who came in at the beginning of all of this and had the summary of the 800 that came back?
That was several $1,000s. I don't remember what the professor from St. Louis University charged. It was something in that range.
I was just curious because I can't see your name, but I sort of had the same thought as you. Yes, I can't see your card. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot your last name. But I'm sort of with her in that the surveys are great, but 800 responses are not, a great indicator that speaks for 10,000 or 12,000 households. It's the people who are, voicing their opinion, which is great. But oftentimes I feel like the people that I run into, the ones that are finding those surveys are responding, whether they're seeing the digital board or getting the mailer, or the people who are going to find it anyway, whether you put it on your website, do a mailer, like they know that they have a voice and they can come in. Anybody can go on the city website and find an email. I feel like the bigger issue is the people who aren't responding. And a big portion of those aren't going to respond no matter what you do or how much money you spend. And so I'm with you to the point of and to your point too, of just making sure that we're spending the resources, the city's funds in the best way. That's my only thought. I don't know how to engage more people clearly with the electronic board you guys had for Celebrate Wildwood. The 2 or 3 days, the city was setting up and closing down the streets. You would not believe how many people came in our store and they're like, what's going on? Like, how can you not know what's going on? This is an every year thing. So I think some people are just not aware. I don't know. But I do think if we are going to do a survey, that it definitely should be not as general and maybe more directed with certain topics so that you can find out what are they interested in, what are they not interested in.
Certainly. I think survey tools are most effective when in the case of solar panels, we ask specific questions because we wanted not to know if the development down the street was okay, but we want to know, do you like solar panels on the front of homes? Because that was the crux of the issue at the time. And we got a resounding response and we changed our regulation. Seems to make everybody happy. All right, we'll craft something for you.
You're gonna have to get creative with that one.
Yep. We'll figure it out. I've got a lot of smart people next to me, so they'll do good. Mr. Chair, the department would respectfully request a motion and second to add something relating to the revitalization of Route 66 as part of our economic element.
I'd like to propose a motion.
Thank you.
Second for Route 66 revitalization. Vince, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
We'll call that the Keefe Amendment. Any others? New goals, objectives, policies? Well, we have completed this task then. So we've made motions on certain additions and certain changes. We'll bring it back to you for final action at our March meeting. Thank you very much. Good conversation. Mr. Chair, the next item relates to one of our major components of the update, and that's the review of the land use categories and associated map. To date, we've received, I believe, 4 requests for consideration of changes to the designation of properties relative to their current categories. And so the process has been in the past that we give those property owners or development entities an opportunity to present to you before we ask you to make a decision. And so that would be part of the March 10th meeting. In preparation for that, the department has provided you a memorandum that kind of describes the four categories, the four kind of land use categories, and then the fifth being historic, which is very unique because it's more site or district based relative to an asset, a historic asset, whether it be a structure, a building, some type of other important asset. It could be what we're calling heritage trees, things along those lines. So tonight, the department is respectfully requesting an endorsement of the 6 steps that we'll ask those that are presenting to the group follow. The first is that the department would introduce property and give some basic information regarding the property and any previous development activity that may have occurred on it. I think, again, context or background, so you know, has this been before other updates, volunteers or not, things like that. Second, the department would then just introduce the team, the application, and the team presenting it to the group. The chair would then ask the applicant to come forward and present why they're requesting the change in the land use category for that property or properties, and provide up to 12 minutes for that presentation. After the presentation concludes, the group members can ask any questions they like and seek additional information before making any decision. The chair would then ask for any concluding remarks from the group members or applicant before closing the matter. And the department would then basically conclude by saying what the next steps are, which could include an action that night or certainly an action at the next meeting relative to the preparation of the component that, I want to call it an element, but the conceptual land use categories and the map associated with them. So again, tonight, the department would like an endorsement of those steps so we can send those steps to the applicants that have officially filed letters for the review, and then we'll get them prepared for the meeting on March 10th. Thank you.
I would move to accept it.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. There are two there is one in the Chesterfield Valley portion, the Wildwood portion of the Chesterfield Valley. Sorry, Ms. McCutcheon, I messed that up. The Wildwood portion of the Chesterfield Valley. It's the Deloge property, the 200+ acres. Both the attorney representing the Deloge family and McBride Homes have letters before the group, so to speak. The other is at the north end of Route BA and Route 109. It was Gibble's Nursery. So it was a plant nursery with greenhouses. They are seeking some type of industrial designation. The other is by Mr. Routen's property, Chair Routen's property. It's the 100+ acres that used to be owned by the Wright family. They donated it to the Boy Scouts of America, and the Boy Scouts of America are wanting to sell it. And so Lombardo Homes has a proposal for residential. Pardon, sir? By Valley Road and Strecker Road generally, but more to the east. Non-urban residential area, and they're asking for suburban to do like a 1 acre density on a portion of it. So those are am I missing any? Oh, and my gosh, Kelp Contracting, they have a facility out on Manchester Road at St. Albans Road. They have a Board of Adjustment variance that allows them to continue operation as a legal nonconformity. They would like to take the nonconformity component from that and seek some type of industrial exception in the non-urban residential area.
Two of them want to come out of it, industrial, and one wants to go into it.
Yeah.
That's just a good idea.
It's a crazy world, Chief.
You wouldn't plan it that way, but if it's there, it's.
Does it make sense in those regards, those specific properties, to have a meeting before the meeting? I would very much appreciate to hear the overall reaching impact of your department. We're going to hear, the builder's going to put their best foot forward. We're only going to hear the good things. We're not going to hear the bad things. And to get an overall picture, can you give us an overview of what they're going to propose before they propose it?
Yes, certainly. And you'll have the maps and exhibits. You'll have an explanation prepared by the department, the four of us, that basically says, here's what's been proposed in the past, why it didn't succeed. Here's what's being proposed now. So no, the intent is not to send the group members into a meeting and just hear all the good things it's going to
Right.
do for the city. There are reasons why other update groups to the master plan didn't support it, and you'll know those.
Excellent.
And it'll be the responsibility of that applicant to tell you why theirs is different or not different, so that you make the best informed decision.
Yes.
I have a quick, while we're considering this, I guess part of me says, well, goodness, if the person owns the land, they should be able to do what they want with it within reason. Another part of me says that if we take a significant part of the industrial allocated area.
No, sir. That's why you're up there and we're down here. And what we'll tell you is, we'll give you the pattern of development that's occurred over the last 30 years, which includes like BIC Supply Services, now Kurtz Landscaping, some of the smaller developments on Centaur Road, Dowco. We'll let you know what's been happening. Is it stagnant? Does it need a boost? Or should we be patient? Those are the decisions. Yep. Yep. Charlie Wright's family owned about 125 plus acres of ground that abuts Brentmore Place. Brentmore Place is served off of Valley Road. To the east of Strecker Road is the next major cross street, or if you go to the east, Clayton Road. It's in that general vicinity. Thank you, Travis. So what I was saying is that yeah, those big kind of 40-acre tracts. I think there's 3 of them, about 120 acres. Now, one of the major Ameren, Missouri utility easement goes through there for those high tension towers that have the strands of the high voltage line. So there's some things that we'll identify for you to help you make your decision. Yes, from they believe it's consistent with the development pattern in the area, and topographically, a portion of the site might lend itself to it. Those are the things we'll kind of put in our little synopsis for you.
Where does the community involvement come in? After this process or during?
The description is that we can accept public comment. We'll not do a posting like a public hearing. We won't do a mailing. We'll have information on the website, and certainly as a resident of Brentmore Place, you can advise people. What we would ask is that either we have public comment before the discussion is presented, which may not be the best because they don't know the details. We have public comment after, or certainly they can provide comment before a decision is made, either via email or comment center, comment form, on our website, things like that. Again, what you'll hear is, for all intents and purposes, the first presentation. I'd be very surprised if you chose to make an action the same night.
Director Vunich?
Mr. Cohen?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
that subject tract of land, is it not the same one that came before planning and zoning roughly 10 years ago? I believe it was under contract by Levinson Family Homes and was rejected.
Yes, sir. In 2006, Levinson Custom Homes brought it forth to the group. The volunteer group updated master plan. They rejected it. Pulte Homes had it under contract for a while and was looking to develop it. They did it outside the 10-year update, never came to fruition. So those are the things we'll tell you who's tried and why they didn't succeed, or what were the reasons. There was opposition from either the Planning and Zoning Commission, which Mr. Cohen served on, or just what happened. So it's always an interesting meeting. You get to put your Planning and Zoning Commission hats on and see what they go through. So thank you for the vote. We'll get this information out to the applicants, and then we'll have information prepared for you. I'll conclude by saying my apologies for being eager with the arterial roads. Don't we all love roads? And not having it ready, though. And then thank you again for your efforts for the purpose of our master plan and making Wildwood the great place it is to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Deborah?
We were having a discussion about town center and the density of each lot. And it was near the end of the session one day and we didn't get to complete that. Joe, is there some point in time that we can have a small discussion on that?
Certainly can, and we can have it as part of the land use discussion, because obviously that's a component of the conceptual land use categories as well as the map. What I will tell you is we've, so to speak, divorced the town center from the discussion typically, because we do a separate update for the town center, and that will occur in 2 years.
Okay, but we can have a discussion.
You certainly can. The group can open any door they like, and I think that's the strength of the process. We don't leave a stone unturned. So, yes,
Okay,
please.
thank you.
No, didn't we just do that?
We started in 2018. It took a little longer than we all expected. We finally had city council endorse and ratify it in 2021, but we'll start the process, or someone will start the process in 2028.
Teresa?
Are we doing sort of like miscellaneous now?
It's a good question. Joe? Okay.
Well, I was putting together a map for myself of like the town center with all of the businesses and where they are located, so I could just look at it. Do we have something like that already? You know, like you go to, I know this is a apples to oranges example, but if you went to, Las Vegas and you had this map and it shows you all of the different places on the strip. Do we have something like that already?
So we don't have something like that already, and it's something that's hard to keep up to date as far as businesses are concerned, but we have been discussing creating something like that in order to bring more attention to the businesses, and also part of the Route 66 efforts, to get some of these businesses that are doing Route 66 promotions and stuff like that. And so, yes, this is on our list of things to do. But yeah.
I think it would be good if we could keep it up, keep it something like that could be updated, because I know it's a lot of work, but I was driving around and just taking pictures so I could go back and, fill in my map. And I was just like, I didn't know that was here. And I've been by it, so different things so many times, and just
Certainly. Well, and part of the problem is like we did have something like that as part of that, like one of our economic development guides, and businesses leave and keeping it up to date. But I think that if we did it like electronically and had it online with maybe a way of printing it, it would probably be easier. But again, businesses don't have to let the city know when they leave. So we know when they come in, hopefully, but when they leave, not so much. And so it's a challenge, but I feel like it would be beneficial for our businesses for sure. So it's in the making. It's added on to a very long list that's in the making.
Where are we in the process? And what are we? We're kind of at a stopping point, and that's why we're having an open discussion.
Certainly. So the 6 elements, for all intents and purposes, are complete. So we'll have revisions to the economic development element that we discussed tonight. We'll put that element along with the other 5, and you'll receive a packet of all 5 elements that have been formally acted, or excuse me, 6 elements that all have been formally acted upon by the group. So you'll see collectively, finally, all 6 elements, the goals, objectives, and policies in their revised form. The land use component will start at the March meeting, probably conclude April. And then in that period as well, I think we have a second meeting in March. So we'll do the narratives. That's the missing piece. We did the first one, the environmental element. We'll need to get you the other 5 or the other 5 elements. So goals, objectives, and policies, 6 elements, land use, and narratives. And once you've seen all of those, that becomes the draft plan. Now, more creative people, much more creative people than I, such as Melanie, Robin, and Travis, will pull together a document, hopefully, that's engaging to the eye, informative, and something that you all agree with that you would like to basically put your name on. And then we'll do some print copies, but primarily it'll rest on the website and other electronic means. So elements are done, land use is getting started, and narratives will be the
What exactly happens on the meeting on the 10th?
Again, just we'll do the land use first because we'll have visitors, so to speak. Then we'll go back to the economic development element. And if things go well, you'll have either most of the narratives or all of the narratives.
Will there be presentations on the 10th?
Yes.
And are we going to have any heads up to what's going to be presented before they present?
Yes, you'll have a packet of information on each of the properties. You'll have the revised economic development element. And as I say, you'll have either a second draft of the environmental narrative or first drafts of the other 5.
But no team discussion ahead of time, ahead of the presentations.
I wasn't anticipating it because on each presentation, the department will introduce it and provide an explanation of the packet of materials you receive, both from the city as well as the applicant. So we'll do our best to kind of set the stage. And then really, it's you all asking questions and just sitting there and hearing what they say and hearing what's been said. And
Think it'll be in this room or that?
we'll probably be in here in the event that we have additional public participation, because we are anticipating it as part of each of our agenda. And this may generate some, I don't know. The area down on Centaur Road doesn't have residents per se. The area at Route BA and Route 109, there's a few homes. The one the Boy Scouts is promoting by Brentmore Place, there's a good number of people there. And then the other Kelp, I think people have grown so accustomed to it. If we have people, when we did the Board of Adjustment hearing, this was years and years ago, we filled our council chambers and had standing room only. So, but I assume if you're, like I say, that
But
was
it's not
because,
going to be advertised as.
yeah. it's not the time nor place. We'll have public engagement. We'll do outreach. We already contacted Silver Tablet Marketing, Debbie Ward, who did the initial survey. So we'll make sure people know if there's a proposed land use change, they're aware of it and can comment on it.
To that point, if I may, when this all comes down, not for our approval, but ultimate approval, I think you said this goes to P and Z, correct?
Yes, sir.
Can they veto portions?
They have that authority under state statute and our code. What I found in the past is generally they have been very supportive because they're an integral part. Remember, we have 23 members, 8 of them are the commission.
So conceivably, if this group would decide, hey, one of those land use changes is a good idea, you could send it to P and Z, who had been here, but perhaps they weren't crazy about it, and they could carve that out instead.
They could cherry pick, but as I say, there's a logic to the madness. If the 8 of the citizen members sit here and listen to what you hear and what you say and what's been presented, there shouldn't be any questions, really.
Can we make certain that those members are aware that what the plan is for next meeting?
Certainly.
Okay, we've got an opportunity to end a little early tonight. Any additional discussion before I ask Travis for any outside comments? Teresa?
Yeah, this may be too much to ask, but if we could have that information, the packet, a little bit farther ahead of time before the meeting, it would be really helpful to really go through it, because not that I am detailed in reading, but I want to read it all before I get here and know what's going on. So it takes me a little longer than the rest of the people. Also on the next meeting, we are going to do the arterials and get that finished too, right?
Yes, I forgot that. Thank you. And yes, Mr. Brown, I think if push came to shove, he probably could have had something prepared tonight, but why rush it? Let's get it right the first time. And your request is so reasonable. Most of the meetings I've started by saying, sorry, you got it today, but we'll aim to do better. Thank you.
Do we know if there's gonna be a second meeting in March? Okay, good.
We'll check on that and send out an email because, like I say, we're so close now, and I'm sure as much as we enjoy your company and you hopefully enjoy ours, it's probably getting to that point where you'd like to do something else. So we'll see what we can do.
Teresa?
I'm sorry, but I had another question. So when, then we'll go on into April if we don't have another one in March. And if it goes past election time, are we going to lose our council members?
Well, we've had some turnover already, but the mayor has allowed the members to stay on and retain that continuity. For example, Mr. Cohn resigned from the Planning and Zoning Commission, but has stayed on as a member because obviously the experience he has from the first year we'd lose. It's not a decision I'll make, but I'll advocate that we retain the group we have through the election cycle. And hopefully most of the major decisions by the time the members are seated will be made by the folks that have sat through what will probably be close to 20 or 21 meetings when we're all said and done. Yes, the election's early April, as you know. The results are certified approximately 2 to 3 weeks later. The first available meeting of council to seat the new members is the second Monday in May.
Travis, any outside comments? Next meeting, March 10th. It's going to be a good one. Look forward to everybody being there. Motion to adjourn. Second, Michael, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Everybody have a good evening. Thanks for coming.